Hello class, welcome back. So this is the current state of our front end right now. So what we need to do now is we need to introduce some democracy into this app by allowing the users to vote up and down on the posts that they wish to do so. But before we do any of that, I want to remind you to smash the like button on this video, it helps a ton, and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Thanks. Alright, so we've already implemented the backend side of voting, we just need to implement it on the front end. So let's head over to VS Code, and inside the client directory, go to source, let's go to pages. So let's start working on the index page. Now these postcards, I call them postcards, they look like cards, they need to be their own component right now because we're going to use them in multiple places and it's better to extract them to their own component. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have the, let's go here. So we have posts here where we loop through them and then we display them. So let's just cut this entire div that's displayed here in this map loop, cut it out, and let's go to components and create a new file called postcard.tsx. And here we'll, actually we can do RFC, not RDC, RFC, and we'll get this functional component, and here in the return, paste that div. And we're going to need a couple of imports. So we need the fragment, so import that. We need the link, and this needs to take a prop of post. And we need to give this an interface type. So we can say interface postcard props. And this will have a post of type post, which we need to import from types. And here we'll have our post. I think everything should be good here. Yeah, we need day.js as well. So actually we can just grab these imports from here. So the day.js and the plugin, so do I cut them? I'm just going to copy them, maybe we still need them. So copy them and paste them here. Actually, let's grab this relative import down. And we don't need React because Webpack by default in Next imports it in every page or component. And we need this day.js extend call, so copy that and paste that here. And everything should be good. And save this. Now let's import it and use it here. So inside of the index page, let's say import postcard from go back one level components / postcard. And here we're going to say inside this map loop, we'll say postcard and pass it a post of this post and give it a key of post.identifier. And close this tag and save. And let's check if everything is still working. All right, no errors in the console. Let's check Google Chrome. Cool, no errors. Everything works the same way it did as earlier. One other thing I noticed as well, so here inside the postcard, if we scroll down, we see, so these action buttons right here, I call them action buttons because that's what we're going to refactor them to. I noticed that these class names are repeating across 3 elements, so we can refactor this into its own component. And it's only needed here, so we can just cut those classes. Let's go up here. Inside this component, we're going to say const action button equals, and it's going to take some props, and we're just going to destructure the children prop, and here we'll say return div, actually let's just say div with a class name and paste all those class names, and then close that div and put the children inside of there. And this should be good. And then now, instead of all of this, we're just gonna replace this with action button. And we can replace it here and here, Control D and replace it there, and Control D here and replace it here. Save that, and nothing will change because it's just a refactor. All right, so now we need to add the upvote and downvote buttons. Now, Font Awesome doesn't have an up arrow and a down arrow that look like Reddit, unless you pay for the full version, which we're not. So I'm going to use a different tool, and this tool is called Ico Moon. It's a really cool tool that allows you to upload your own SVGs and make them into a font, like an icon font. So here we can just go to the Ico Moon app. All right, so here we can select any of these icons and add them to an icon pack. So here I'm going to search for arrow, and we're going to select this up arrow and this down arrow, and then click here, generate font. And here you can name them. I'm just going to keep the default names. You can also go to preference and name your font name. Actually, I'm going to change it. Actually, remove this, change this to Reddit like that. And I'm going to remove the IE8 support. and this is fine, this is fine. You can also control like the default widths and stuff. It's a really cool tool. So these settings are fine, so we're just gonna go ahead and say download. I'm actually gonna grab this into the project. Let's open the Explorer and go and paste it into styles. Oh, actually it's a zip, so we need to extract it. So I'm just gonna reveal it in File Explorer. Let me bring this over. So I'm just gonna extract all the files. Actually extract them to a directory. So it gives you even a readme to tell you how to use it, which is pretty cool. I'm just gonna get rid of everything except the fonts directory and the style CSS. So get rid of this demo files as well. And I'm just gonna cut everything and bring it out into the styles and remove these two folders. I'm gonna rename this to icons. Now let's go back to VS Code. So now that we have these icons, we can actually import them globally. So let's go to our app.tsx, and here under the Tailwind, we can say import and import back one level styles / icons, icons.css. Cool, save that. And now if we go back to our postcard, we can actually use these icons. And if you have a look at the icon CSS, it just has like some global styling for any icon that starts with icon dash. And then we have our two icons here. And if you had more icons, you're gonna have more classes here. It's very similar to Font Awesome. So now in our postcard, let's go up. Where we had this V, now we can have the upvote and downvote buttons. So I'm just gonna put some comments here, upvote, and then put another comment here, downvote. Here we're gonna have a div with some stylings. I'm gonna give it a width of 6, so W-6. I'm gonna give it MX auto. I'm gonna give it .text gray 400, and also give it rounded and cursor dash pointer and hover. Actually, I don't know if I can give it a class with a colon, but okay, let's just tab and then add those two. Hover colon BG dash gray dash 300. So it gets that gray background, same as the action buttons. And then this is the upvote. So the upvote, when it's hovered, it should have like a red color. So we'll say hover colon text dash red dash 500. So this is just the div that wraps it. So let's put the icon inside of it. So inside of that div, we're gonna say I dot, and we're gonna give it that class, which was icon dash arrow dash up. Tab that over. And this is the upvote, so let's copy this one more time and paste it here. So this, instead of the hover text red, this will be blue, just like in Reddit, and this will be text blue 600. So let's save these and have a look at them. So let's go back to our browser, and here if we, okay, we don't need to refresh, cool. All right, so we have two up arrows because I forgot to change this here. So this should be arrow down, save that. And now if we look at it, cool. So we get our arrows. But let's give this some padding because it's kind of really close to the top. So if we go back, so this will be this surrounding div here. Let's add py-3 and save. All right, that looks better. And it's centered in the middle, and we get our colors when we hover, and as well that background. And actually, let's add the vote count, which I don't know if we're getting it. So I'm just gonna check the. Let me close this. The dev tools. Let's go to network, and let's check our. Actually, let's refresh to get our post call. All right, posts. Okay, yeah, we're not adding the vote score just like we did in when after voting. So let's add that. So actually, we need to go back to our posts routes file, and let's scroll down. And here in the get posts, where we get the post, we can add the relations, and that will take care of like calculating the comment count and the vote count for us, or the vote score. So we can just say relations and add the comments, the votes, and the sub as well. I mean, it's all one query, so you could just add as much as you want. So save this. And now if we go, actually, let's go back to Chrome, refresh this, and let's look at our response. Okay, it would be nice if I can format this. So let me paste it in the console. All right, cool. So we get this response. Okay, we do get the comments as well, which is not something that we should do because that might bloat the response, and we don't need the comments here. We just need the comment count, which is right here. And also we have the vote score, which is pretty cool. So we have -1 on this one, and then we have 0 on this one. So let's actually remove those comments. So let's go back, let's go to our post entity file, and here where it says comments, we're gonna do the same thing we did for votes. So we'll just add this exclude decorator, and now we don't have the comments returned, just the comment count, which we need to use. So let's go back to our postcard. And so here where we have between the upvote and the downvote button, we can add a paragraph with the vote score. So we're going to say post.vote score. which does not exist on our type. And actually, now that I hover, this post is not getting the post type for some reason. Okay, it's any. Okay, I forgot to add the props type to this. So let's give this that type and do this. Okay, now it's going to complain that vote score does not exist on type post. So let's actually add those. So we have 3 more virtual fields. So we have vote score, which is optional, and this is going to be a number. And then we're going to have the comment count, which is actually as well optional, which is going to be a number. And also actually we're going to have the user vote in case the user is logged in, which we're going to do in a second. Actually, that's optional as well, and that's a number. So let's save. Now it shouldn't complain when we are trying to use that. Cool. And now let's also add the comment count. Now we can remove it from here. It's not hard-coded anymore. We can add post.comment count. Save that. And let's look at Chrome. Nice. So we get -1 here, and we get 0 here, and we get 1 comment here and 0 comments here. Cool. So those values are not hard-coded anymore. Let's style this because this is way too big. So we need to give it some, maybe like text XS. All right, let's go up. So here, let's give it class name, text-XS, and also let's give it font bold. Otherwise, it's way too thin and barely readable. Cool, that looks much better. That looks like the actual subreddit or the actual Reddit one. So let's make this functional because right now if we click it, it does nothing. So let's go back. We need to write a function that when we click this, either one of these buttons, it's going to actually send a vote to the server. So up here, let's create a function. So let's say const vote equals, and this will take a value, and this will actually be async. And depending on that value, it's going to send a vote. So actually, let's do our try catch block. So try catch, if we get an error, I'm just going to console log that error. And let's go here inside the try catch block. Let's say const res equals await axios dot post. Make sure to import axios slash misc slash vote. And our post body was going to have the post identifier. So identifier is going to be post dot identifier. And actually what we can do, we can destructure these so we don't have to use post dot everywhere, because we know these properties belong to a post. So what we can do, we can further destructure from this post and open an object here and say, what do we need? We need identifier, vote score, subname, and all the other fields. I think we need, yeah, so identifier, slug, title, body, what else? Subname, we need created at, pretty much everything, vote score, vote, user vote, when we do actually get that, comment count, and what else? URL and username. So pretty much everything. And now we can actually select post dot and control D everywhere and just remove like that. And now everything should work the same. So here we can just say identifier like that and then do comma and say slug, because we need to provide this when we're voting. And we need to provide the value as well. So after we vote, let's actually just console log the data that we get to make sure that it's working. And let's bind this function to the on-click of those buttons. So here, so this is the upvote. So we can add here on this div an on-click handler. So the on-click handler will be a callback to vote. And because this is upvote, we're going to pass it the value of 1. And let's copy this and paste it here. And this will be -1 because it's a downvote. Cool, save that and let's see if it's working. So let's go to Chrome. I'm going to open the DevTools, go to Network. Now if I click here, Upvote, make sure, by the way, that you're logged in. Of course, now even if we're logged in, we still see login and sign up here because we haven't changed the navbar depending on our logging status. But we're going to update that soon when we have an authentication context. But for now, I'm okay with this. Cool, so we get status 200. So that was successful, but of course we don't get a change in the UI because we're not using a global state yet, and we're not updating this single post card, which we're going to do soon in the future. But if we do reload, we should see, cool, we see 1 now, because our own vote was -1, and now we change it to 1, so it's going to be 1. And same goes for this one. If I upvote it, we get 200, and if I refresh, it's going to say 1. And of course, soon, like I said, it's going to refresh instantly. We don't need to refresh the page. Now, let's make it so that when we, because right now we're logged in and this vote has been already upvoted by us, let's make it so that the UI knows that we have upvoted it and it will always show this as a orange button. And if we have downvoted one, it's going to show it as that blue down arrow. For this to work, we need to go, oops, I keep going to postman. We need to go to our post route, scroll, yeah, here. So in the get posts, where we get the posts, we need to make sure that we return the user vote for each post. Now we need to detect if the user is logged in, right? But we can't just use the auth middleware, because the auth middleware right now, if we look at it, so let's go to middleware, auth, it basically gets the token, fetches the user, and if there is no user, it just errors out. Now we want to change this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to split this middleware into 2 pieces. So I'm going to create another piece here, or another piece of middleware, call it user.ts. I'm going to show you what it does. So I'm just going to copy everything from the auth, paste it here. So this is going to do the exact same. It's going to get the token. It's going to, so here, instead of like, if it doesn't find the token, it's not going to throw an error. It's just going to return next. And if it does find a token, it's going to fetch the user. And if the user doesn't exist, that's okay. So actually, let's just cut this. And then it's going to set the user to this and then go to the next middleware. And the next middleware might be the auth middleware. So let's go to the auth middleware. So if the next middleware would be the auth, we're going to actually do none of this. And we're just going to actually say const user. And let's give this a type of user and import that. Actually import that from the entity, or undefined, because it might not be defined, equals res.locals.user. And here we can paste that if statement. So if no user, then throw this error. Otherwise, return next. And this is not needed, so we can omit the request and remove the JWT import and save. So now if we want to have a route that requires the user to be logged in to use this, we're going to have both middleware. But if we have a route that doesn't require the user to be logged in, but if the user is logged in, the functionality of the route itself changes, we're just going to include this user middleware. And you'll see what it does now. So let's close both of them. Let's go back to posts. So duplicate this. And actually, we need to make some changes now, because any piece of any route that was using the auth middleware needs to change and needs to use both now. So let's actually loop through them. So here in the auth, I think we have the me. Yeah, the me is using the auth and also actually the logout. So we can replace, click here and hold Alt and click here and add the user middleware, which we're going to import. Actually, can I import it? Yes, we can import it. All right, so we have the user and then the auth and then me, because here you need to be logged in and it's imported up here. So let's grab that import, save this. Let's loop through all of them. So in the misc file, add that import, and here add that user before the auth. Make sure that it's before the auth. Let's go to posts. So paste that there. And so here where we are commenting, we need the user and the auth. And we're going to come back to this. Let's go to subs. So here in the subs, let's paste that. And here where we create a sub, we need the user and auth middleware. So save that. And I'm going to close all of these because it's getting overwhelming. So here in the get posts, let's add the user. And actually here in the create post, we need to add the user. But notice that the get posts does not have the auth middleware, because if the user is not logged in, that's okay. We just return the posts of the front page. But if they are logged in, then when we get the posts up here, we need to get their own vote and add it to the posts. So here we'll say if res.locals.user, then we're going to say posts.for each post, do post.set user vote and pass it the res.locals.user, like that. So now if we go back to Chrome and we refresh, of course we're not going to see anything here, but if we look at our post response, actually I'm just going to copy that and paste it into the console. We'll see that right there. So you see here we have our user vote here, 1, and here the user vote is 1 as well, because we upvoted both. But you see what I mean? Now we can use that to know in the UI which post that this user has upvoted and which they're downvoted. So let's go back to VS Code and let's go back to the front end on the post card. Here actually we need to import class names. So here in the top, let's say import from class names, and scroll down. So here where we have our arrow up, we can change its color if it's already upvoted. So actually let's remove, let's cut this. and make this an expression and say equals and say class names, and then pass the first argument as what we copied, so paste it there, and the second is an object with a conditional class of text dash red dash 500, which is the same that we used up here, and the condition will be that the user vote, which we already destructured, equals 1. And we're going to do the same here. Actually, we could just copy this, paste it here, change the arrow up to arrow down, and change the color to blue dash 600. And if the user vote equals -1, then it's going to be blue. All right, let's save. Let's go to Chrome, reload. Cool, it's already like showing that it's red there. And if we downvote this and we refresh the page, we will see that now it's showing the blue one because we have downvoted this post. Cool, so the voting mechanism for posts has been successfully implemented. Alright, so that's it for this video. I'm going to keep it short. In the next one, we're probably going to be working with the sub page or something like that. So yeah, look forward to it. Please again, hit the like button if you haven't done so yet, and subscribe and hit the bell button as well. Hit all the buttons. Any button that you see, just hit it and watch another video. Watch all of my videos. Why not? Anyway, thanks a lot, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.